Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope you guys are doing well. So in this video, we will be learning the concept of coded mean, variance, and standard deviation. Now, what that basically is, so this is what a question can look like. Okay. Now, let's understand this. So summation x minus c basically means that a certain value has been subtracted from all the 9 values. Okay. And this is what the sum is. And just like that, after c has been subtracted from all the 9 values and then they were squared and then summed up, this is what we ended up with. Okay. So through this, the question might ask us to calculate the mean, the variance, the standard deviation, or in some cases, it might even ask us to calculate what we are subtracting, c in this case, or in some cases, it might even ask us to calculate the value of n, which in this case obviously is given, so it's not going to do that in this question. But yeah, so this is just to give you guys an idea the kind of questions that we're going to be dealing with. Okay, now let's first understand how the concept works, okay, and then we'll see how the questions are solved. So in this video only, I will be solving past paper questions. So first of all, let's write down the formulas that we're going to be using. So let's write down the formula for mean. So mean, as we know, is x bar, okay? And this is equal to summation x upon n. That means sum of all the values of x divided by the number of terms that we have. And just like that, variance, which is sigma squared, is equal to sum of x squared upon n minus the mean squared, okay, which you can either write as summation x upon n whole squared, or the same formula for variance can actually be written as this, summation x squared upon n minus x bar whole squared, okay, meaning minus the square of the mean. Now, like I said, let's first understand the concept, and once you understand the concept, you'll see how the questions are solved. And this is fairly easy. It's one of the easiest topics, in fact, you'll find in S1. So let's say that we have some random values of x, and the objective here is to understand what really happens to the mean and the variance if you add or subtract a certain value in all the values of x. Okay, so let's make a table around here. Here are, like I mentioned, some random values of x, and if you're wondering why I've left the row beneath it blank, you'll find out in a minute. Okay, so let's add these values. 3 plus 7 is 10, 10 plus 10 is 20, and 20 plus 4 is, no, wait a minute, 20, 31 plus 4, 35. Okay, so as far as the mean is concerned, we can calculate the mean, which is x bar, like this. X bar equals to 3 plus 7 plus 10 plus 11 plus 4 divided by the number of terms, which is equal to 5. So I'm basically using this formula over here. So x bar equals to 35 upon 5, which is equal to 7. And just like that, let's also calculate the variance, which is sigma squared. So the variance, as we know, will be sum of the squares of all the values of x. So that means 3 squared plus 7 squared plus 10 squared plus 11 squared plus 4 squared divided by the number of terms that we have, which in this case is 5, minus the square of mean, which means minus 7 squared. Okay, now if we work this out correctly, so this is going to be equal to 59, and 59 minus 49, that means the variance is equal to 10. Okay, so sigma squared is variance. As you must know, that variance is basically the square of standard deviation. Okay, now let's say that in place of x, okay, in all these values of x, in fact, we add a certain number, which suppose is 2. So in this row, I'm going to write down all the values of x plus 2. So 3 plus 2 is 5, 7 plus 2 is 9, 10 plus 2 is 12, 11 plus 2 is 13, 4 plus 2 is 6. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work out the new mean. Okay, now I want you guys to make an observation. So now I'm working out the mean of the new data set, which is x plus 2. And that's why you can see that I've made a bar over here. So x plus 2 basically means adding the new values. So 5 plus 9 plus 12 plus 13 plus 6 and dividing it by the total, which is still 5. And now here's the observation to make, that the mean of x plus 2 is actually equal to what? Is actually equal to 9. Okay. Now, this is not a coincidence that the mean has increased by 2. Because we've added 2 in all the values of x, okay, that's why the mean has increased by 2. Had we subtracted 2 from all the values of x, you would have then noticed that, in fact, I encourage you to try it, pause this video, subtract 2 from all the original values of x, and then see what happens to your mean. Okay, you'll notice that you'll notice that what you will get is actually 2 less than the mean that we got with original values of x. Okay, and through this we will make a statement. Okay, we'll come up with a fact which I'll write down in a minute, but first let's calculate the variance of the new data set. So that means now I'm calculating the variance, except this time I'm doing it for x plus 2. So that means 5 squared plus 9 squared plus 12 squared plus 13 squared plus 6 squared divided by the number of terms, which happen to be 5, minus the mean squared. Okay, now what mean am I going to subtract? Obviously, since I'm calculating the variance of this data set, that means I will minus the square of the mean of this data set only, or the new mean, basically, you can say. So in this case, sigma x plus 2, basically the variance of x plus 2 is equal to, you will notice, so 9 square is 81, and this is equal to 100 and this is equal to 91, and 91 minus 81 is equal to what? Is equal to 10. Now, did you observe something? Did you notice that the variance did not change? And this is not a coincidence, okay? This is because variance tells you in a way that how far away are your values from the mean. And because we've added 2 in all the values, so that means the distance has remained the same, okay? So that is why the variance will not change. So here, this is where we make a statement. Okay, so we make 2 statements over here, 2 very important statements. Statement number 1 is this. So let's write this down. If something is added or subtracted, so I'll just save some time, write plus minus, to or from all values of x, the same is done to the mean. The same is done to the mean. So for example, if let's say you've worked out the mean of the original data set and now you've added 10 to all the values, so now you don't have to go through the pain of finding out the new mean. You can just add 10 to the previous mean. Okay, so that's statement number 1. Statement number 2 is if something, and this is about the variance, okay, if something is added or subtracted to or from all values of x, so what do you think? What happens to the variance? Well, the variance remains the same. Okay, as we saw earlier, the variance remains the same. So using these 2 statements, let's just try and come up with a few formulas. Now, the formulas that we're about to come up with, these formulas won't be given to you. And I don't at all recommend that you memorize these formulas. I recommend that you first understand them. And once you understand them, if you understand them well enough, I can guarantee that you won't have to memorize them. Okay, so let's see. So basically, when we were working out the new mean, we were basically finding out the sum of all the values after a had been added divided by the number of terms. Okay, so this is basically the new mean. All right, and we just saw that the new mean is equal to what? It's not equal to the old mean. It is in fact equal to the old mean plus whatever it is that you add to all the values of x. Okay, and the same works for minus as well. So I'll just put a minus sign over here as well. Okay, there's no different rule for minus. It works the same way. Okay, now another thing that I want you to understand is this. So what does summation x plus a actually mean? So summation x plus a basically means that you have sum of all the values of x, meaning sum of all the original values of x, and in all the values you're adding a. So if let's say you have 5 values and you're adding 2, that means 2 is being added 5 times. Like for example over here, if let's say we have 5 values over here and we're adding 2, so if you take out the total of x plus 2, basically if you find out summation x plus 2 and then if you find out summation x, you'll notice that the difference will be of 10. And the reason why that is because 2 has been added 5 times, which means a total of 10 has been added. So here, if a is being added n times, that means a total of n times a would be added. Okay, so it's important to write this down, that this is because a is added to n values of x, and that is why therefore the sum increases by n times of a. Okay. Now another thing is about variance. We just saw that the variance remains the same. Okay. So that means summation x plus a whole squared divided by n minus summation x plus a upon n, the whole thing squared, which basically means minus the square of mean. So this is the new variance. Okay, through this we will get the variance of the new data set, and we just saw that this remains the same as the old variance. That means minus, this is equal to minus summation x square upon n minus equals to summation x square upon n minus summation x, sorry, not plus a, summation x, in fact no need to make a bracket around here, over n, the whole thing squared. Now we can basically write this as summation x plus a whole squared upon n minus x plus a bar whole squared, telling us that this is the new mean, is equal to summation x squared upon n minus x bar whole squared. Okay, and I'll write this down so you know what I've done, where x bar is the old mean and x plus a bar is the new mean. That means the mean of the new data set. Okay, now this is what pretty much every question will revolve around. Now let's look at a few past paper questions to see how we can solve them. Okay, so here's a past paper question. It's from October-November 2021, paper 5, variant 1, question 2. So fairly recent. Let's see what it says. It says a summary of 40 values of x gives the following information. Summation x minus k equals to 520. Summation x minus k whole squared equals to 9640, where k is a constant. Given that the mean of these values, these 40 values of x is 34, find the value of k. So first thing you want to do is you want to write down the information. So in fact, let's first underline whatever is important. 40 is important. Okay, that's telling us the number of terms that we have. And summation x minus k equals to 520. Now let's first understand the breakup of this. Okay, so summation x minus k basically means that the sum of the original values of x. Okay, and as we know, from every single value of x, k has been deducted. Okay, so if let's say we have 40 values of x, that means k has been deducted a total of 40 times, and that's how we end up with 520. Okay, so this is basically what summation x minus k means. Now let's see what we can find out and how we can sort of use this equation to find out the value of k. You can see here that if somehow we're able to determine summation x, we should be able to solve for the value of k. Now, if you read the question further, you have enough information to do exactly that. You can see that you're given the mean of the 40 values of x is equal to 34. Now, mean, as we know, of group data or of ungrouped data or raw data is equal to summation x divided by the number of terms. Okay, and that according to the question is equal to 34. Now how many terms do we have over here? We have a total of 40 terms. So summation x divided by 40 equals to 34. And you can see that if you cross multiply, that will give you summation x, which is equal to 1360. Now, as you can see, we now have successfully found out summation x. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to replace summation x with 1360 minus 40k, which is equal to 520. And then if you solve for the value of k, you will get 1360 minus 520 divided by 40k. So 1360 minus 520 divided by 40k will give us the value of k, which is equal to 21. And there you go. That's it. That's your answer to the first part. So fairly easy question. Now comes part B, where we have to find out the variance of these 40 values of x. So in this situation, the formula that we're going to use for variance, which is sigma squared, is going to be summation x minus k, the whole thing squared. That means the sum of all the values after k was deducted and after we squared them, divided by the number of terms, minus summation x minus k over n, the whole thing square. Okay, so you can think of it this way, that the new sum minus the new mean, square of the new mean basically. Okay, now if you notice that we have pretty much enough information to figure out the variance. So variance, which is sigma squared. So this is something that's already given in the question. Summation x minus k whole squared is 9640. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to replace that with 9640 divided by 40, since we have 40 terms, minus summation x minus k, which is 520. So 520 over 40, the whole thing squared. Now, another thing that you could have done actually is this. Well, let's first figure it out. Let's see what the answer is, and then I'll tell you another thing that you could have done as far as the mean is concerned. 9640 divided by 40. So that's equal to 241 minus, so 520 divided by 40 is 13. So minus the square of 13. So 241 minus 13 squared is equal to 72. So the variance is equal to 72. Now, another thing that you could have done is this, that we know that if something is deducted from all the values of x, the same is deducted from the mean. Now, previously, the mean was what? Previously, the mean was 34, okay? And now, if you want to find out the new mean, so let's write that down. I'll do it with a different color. Now, the new mean after k, which is equal to 21, has been deducted. You can see here k is 21, would be equal to the old mean minus k, okay? So if I want to find out what the new mean is, I'll take the old mean, which is 34, and from it, I will subtract 21. And you can see that you're getting the same answer. 34 minus 21 is actually equal to 13. Okay, and then of course, you could have just simply replaced 520 upon 40 with 13. All right, so that's just another way of doing it. Whatever suits you best, you can do it like that. So there you go. That's it. That's the end of this question. And as you can see, the variance is 72 and the value of k is 21. So here's another question. Let's see what it says. So, and it's from October-November 2017, paper 6, variant 2. So it says Andy counts the number of emails x he receives each day and notes that over a period of n days, summation x minus 10 equals to 27, and the mean number of emails is 11.5. Okay, so let's first break this formula down. Summation x minus 10 equals to 27 basically means that summation x, and now you're subtracting 10 from how many values? We don't know that. So we'll call it n. And as a result, you're getting 27. Okay. So if somehow we're able to find out what summation x is, that means we can then find out the value of n. Now, if you read the question further, you can see that you're given the mean, which is 11.5. And mean, as we know, mean x bar, that is equal to summation x divided by the number of terms. So if the mean is 11.5, summation x over n, so summation x would be 11.5n. So 11.5n is what summation x equals to, and that helps us. Okay, that pretty much is all what we need in order to solve this. So I can replace summation x with 11.5n minus 10n equals to 27, and now you can see that we have one equation with one unknown, which that means it's enough for us. Okay, so n equals to 27 divided by 1.5, which is equal to 18. And there you go. The value of n is equal to 18. Okay, so here's another question from October-November 2017, paper 6, variant 3. Let's see what it says. It says Tian, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, measured the arm lengths x centimeter of 20 people. Okay, so let's underline 20. He found that summation x equals to 1 to 1/8 and the standard deviation. So this question is different in the sense that you're given the standard deviation of x was 4.2. Calculate summation x minus 45 and summation x minus 45 whole squared. Okay, now, so first of all, let's understand the breakup of summation x minus 45. So the breakup of summation x minus 45 basically means that you have summation x, and from summation x, you're subtracting 45. And how many times are you subtracting 45? You're subtracting it 20 times. Why? Because you're subtracting 45 from the length x centimeter of 20 people. Okay. And as a result, what do you end up with? Well, in fact, that's what you have to find out. Just realized. So summation x minus 45 is equal to, so thankfully we have summation x, which is 1 to 1/8, and 20 times 45 will just give you 900. Now, if you subtract this, you get 318. And that is your final answer. So summation x minus 45 equals to 318. Okay, now, next thing that you have to find out is summation x minus 45 whole square. So that means we have to use the formula for variance. But the thing is, variance is not given. We're given the formula for standard deviation. Now, first of all, let's write down the formula for variance. So variance, as we know, in this situation would be summation x minus 45 whole squared divided by the number of terms minus the new mean. That means the sum of all the values after 45 was deducted. So summation x minus 45 divided by the number of terms, and obviously don't forget to square it. Okay. Now, what we have to find out is this. So first of all, let's see what the variance is actually going to be. So do bear in mind that what you're given is the standard deviation, which is 4.2. That means you have to find out the variance yourself. So the standard deviation is 4.2. Sigma squared is going to be equal to 4.2 squared, which is equal to 17.64. So there you go. 17.64 is what the variance is. So 17.64 equals to summation x minus 45 whole squared divided by the number of terms, which in this case happens to be 20. Now, as far as this is concerned, as we saw earlier, that there are two ways that you can work this out. Now, since we have summation x minus 45 and since we know what the number of what the value of n is, so that's what I'm going to go with. So I'm going to go with 318 divided by 20. Another way could have been that you first work out the actual mean, okay? That is 1218 divided by 20, the old mean, okay, with the original values. And then as you can see that since 45 is subtracted from all the values of x, that means your new mean would then be the old mean minus 45. Okay, so you can see here that this is the new mean. Okay, so you can work out the new mean very easily by using the old mean or by using the new summation and the number of terms. And don't forget to square it. Okay, now let's solve this. Let's see what do we get. So I would suggest that you first make summation x minus 45 whole squared the subject, okay, and then do everything else in your calculator as it is. So that means 17.64 plus, well, I think we can work out 318 divided by 20 squared. We won't have to deal with a lot of decimals. Yeah, we can. So that's going to be 252.81. So here's what I've done. I've done two steps at once. I've taken this over to the left hand side, okay, and which is why we have a plus sign over here. And what is this equal to? This is equal to summation x minus 45 whole squared over 20. Now it's just a matter of cross multiplying, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. 252.81 plus 17.64 into 20, and now you have summation x minus 45 whole squared, which is equal to what? 5,409. And there you go. That's it. That's your final answer. Okay, now here's another question, which is from May June 2016, paper 6, variant 3. Let's see what it says. So it says here the mean monthly rental prices, x dollars, for 9 apartments. So let's underline 9 in a certain city are listed and are summarized as follows. So summation x minus c equals to 1845. Summation x minus c whole squared equals to 477,450. Okay. Then it says the mean monthly rental price is 2205. So obviously that is also very important. Find the value of c. Find the value of the constant c. So c is basically what you're subtracting from the 9 values of x. So let's break this formula down. Summation x minus c, which is equal to 1845, basically means that you had summation x and you subtracted c how many times? 9 times, because you have a total of 9 values of x. And that's how you ended up with 1845. Okay. Now the question is, how do we work out summation x? For that, you can see that you have the mean monthly rental price. So mean, as we know, is equal to x bar, which is equal to summation x upon n. So summation x is something we have to find out. N is something we know already. X bar is something that we also know. Okay, and that's equal to 2205. So if you simply cross multiply 2205 into 9, that's equal to 19,845. Okay, now, so summation x is 19,845 minus 9c equals to 1845. Now it's just a matter of solving this. So 19,845 minus 1845 divided by 9. So now we know that c is equals to 2000. That means that is what's subtracted from all the 9 values of x. So that's your answer to the first part. Okay, now let's do part 2. In part 2, we have to find out the variance. So variance in this case can be worked out through the formula summation x minus k whole squared upon n minus summation x minus k. In fact, over here, you know what we can do is, let's write down the formula, then I'll show you what we can do. Over n, and don't forget to square it. Now, since we have the old mean, that is 2205, and we know very well what it is that we're subtracting from all the values of x is 2000. So that means what's the new mean going to be? The new mean is going to be 2205 minus 2000. So you can do it like that, or you can simply use this summation x minus c. Okay, replace this with 1845 and divide by 20. So either way, you'll get the same answer. Doesn't matter what you use. So let's work this out. Summation x minus k whole squared, as you can see, is 477450. So 477,450 divided by the number of terms, which happened to be 9. And from it, we're going to subtract the new mean. So I'm going to work that out on the side over here. So new mean is going to be equal to the old mean, which was 2,205 minus 2000. So that's equal to what? That is equal to 205. So minus the square of 205. And like I said, bear in mind that you could have always worked it out the other way. In fact, I'm going to do that right now in my calculator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 1845 and divide it by the number of terms. Where are they? That's 9. Okay, we can see that in the question. It's 9. And that should also give me the same answer. So 1845 divided by 9. Yep, that also gives me 205. So just be open to the idea that there are multiple formulas that you can use. Okay, multiple methods that you can use. So let's work this out. So I'm going to plug this in the calculator as it is. 447450 divided by 9 divided by 9 minus 205 whole squared. So here's what we're looking at. The variance is equal to 11,025. So there you go. That's the answer to part 2. Now let's see what part 3 says. Part 3 says another apartment is added to the list. The mean monthly rental price is now 2120.5. Find the rental price of this additional apartment. Okay. Now, if you're adding another apartment, so that means now the sum has changed. And obviously, the number of apartments that you have also must have changed. So now the formula that we're going to be using is this summation x. And let's say that the apartment that you're adding has the rental price A, and we will divide it by 10. And this will give us the new mean, which according to the question is equal to 21,000. That's a lot. 2,120.50. So notice that we have what summation x is. Okay, we worked that out. In fact, we didn't work it out. Yeah, we worked it out. It's 19,845. So summation x is 19,845 plus a over 10 equals to 2,120.50. So now it's just a matter of cross multiplying. So I'm going to do just that. So just realize I don't need a calculator for that. So 19845 plus a equals to 21205. All right. Now a can simply be worked out by doing 21205 minus 19,845. And now the answer is 1,360. So this is basically the rental price of the apartment that has been added in the list. So yeah, there you go. I hope these questions have helped you. The solution of these questions, in fact, have helped you get a better grip on these concepts. Okay. And that's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.